So let's face it, as men, there is a societal expectation that we are always ready to go. That at a drop of a hat or a blink of an eye, we are hard, raised up, and ready to plow forward for hours on end. And if you happen to be a porn star, maybe that's just your regular experience. Or maybe if you're currently supplementing testosterone, you might also be having that experience where you're finding you need to get off 8, 9, 10, 12 times a day. In which case, this might not be your issue. Some of us have very high sex drives, some of us have very low sex drives, some of us vary from day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. But if you are finding that you are not having as much sexual energy in your life as you would enjoy or your partner would enjoy, and that's something that you would like to cultivate a little bit more, then watch on, because I have some meditative and tantric tips and tricks to help you get hard longer, have more fun, and be aroused and ready to go for longer periods of time. So if we haven't met before, I'm Kay. I'm an ecstatic life coach and author of the book, Journey to the Ecstatic Self. And I have been practicing for many years in esoteric tantric versions of yoga, which aren't all about sex, but do very much include using your sexual energy and sexual power for transformation, growth, having a better life, and enlightenment. And so for me, my sexual energy is a huge part of my life and my personal practice of self-development and growth. And when I, in my practice, my sadhana, it's called, I am spending a lot of time working with my sexual energy, it's not uncommon for me to be aroused and in a state of sexual connection for 7, 8, 10 hours a day. Now, my life isn't always that way, and frankly, I have other things I need to get done, but it's nice to be able to have that when I want it for the purpose of pleasure, personal growth, psychic development, spiritual connection, all that good stuff. So let's just start off with the pure physical. If you are really struggling with feeling aroused, that you just aren't turned on a lot lately, do go to your doctor and just make sure that physically everything is as it should be. Because if your testosterone levels are in the tank, well, you know, that might be the issue. So let's start there. Also, simple thing not to be underrated, are you getting enough sleep? Because even just something as simple as getting less than 6 hours of sleep a night, your T levels can also drop significantly from that. I know for myself, when I'm tired or hungry, like, it's impossible for me to be at my best, most juicy, most pleasurable sort of state. But then the next thing that we should talk about is frequency of ejaculation. How often are you blowing your load, spilling your seed, doing all that kind of stuff? Now, while I'm not an advocate of semen retention per se, that's actually a Taoist practice, not a tantric one, it is important to be aware of how often are you doing it. Now, according to Ayurveda, the health science of yoga, depending on your disposition, your body type, your physiology, you can ejaculate as frequently for some body types as once a day, for some body types once a week, but there are those who they say should not ejaculate more than once a month. Once a month, that's not a lot. I know for myself, but maybe that's totally doable for you. Perhaps practicing holding in, learning to separate orgasm from ejaculation so that you can orgasm without having to splooge everywhere could be a helpful way to keep it in. Because the truth is, it's not just seminal fluid and sperm and gland secretion that we send out of our body, we also send out part of our life force. So in Ayurveda, there's something called ojas. They're one of the 3 primary sources of energy in the body. And we have 2 types of ojas. One that dwells in the center of our chest that will be depleted over the course of our lifetime through stress, burning the candle at both ends, from doing things that aren't right for our disposition, not being kind to ourselves. But then we also have our sexual energy ojas, and that is depleted through ejaculation. So by ejaculating less frequently, you can preserve more of your ojas. Or if you're good at controlling your own energy, if you do ejaculate, that you then pull the energy back in one of 2 ways. The more difficult of the 2 ways is to absorb it through your skin by rubbing your ejaculate onto your chest, pulling it back into your body. The easier of the 2 ways is to swallow it, which some of you might find really exciting, some of you might find that really repulsive. But by doing that, you are pulling some, not all, but some of that energy back into yourself to be reused later. I do even have friends who argue that by swallowing your own ejaculatory secretions, that it actually can prevent even hair loss, so something to look into. On that happy note, so can you withhold ejaculating? Or if you do ejaculate, can you try to pull the energy back in? That's one way to create more sexual energy within yourself. Now, if that idea of learning to have an orgasm without an ejaculation is something that appeals to you, that's something that we can explore in another video. I've taught it in a few live meditation classes on here. There were some videos posted on it. I don't know if I still have them up, but I can record new ones to share with you guys on how to learn to have energetic orgasms or physical orgasms without the necessary finish at the end, which is great because then you can have 7, 8, 9, 10 orgasms in a row without ever having to feel like you're done. I will say there are two different approaches to energetic orgasms. One is, again, the more Taoist version, which is about training your PC muscle and squeezing it tight so that when you orgasm, no fluid comes out. That is not the version I personally practice. I'm not a big believer of using a lot of force in one's body. I'd rather let things happen organically. So the more tantric point of view is to develop the ability to orgasm on command by focusing down in the center of orgasmic bliss that sits between the root and the sex chakra, and stimulating that with your breath, with your prana, your life force, and learning how to ride the wave so that as you get to the point of no return in your orgasm experience, that you learn to ride that and hang out there or experience it without tipping fully over into ejaculation. So again, you can search through my other videos, find something on it. I'll also probably upload something a little more directly just about that topic in the near future. So subscribe so you can be alerted for when that video is posted. The next thing we should be aware of regarding our level of arousal is how are we feeling connected with that which turns us on? And what I mean by that is, what are you looking at or listening to or engaging with that is making you feel aroused? Now, there's been a lot of conversation amongst guys about the debilitating effects of pornography. Personally, as a yogi, I'm not opposed to pornography. If you like pornography, that's great, enjoy it. But what's important is A, how does it make you feel? When you're done, does it make you feel better, more alive? Do you watch that and say, gosh, those people are beautiful. Isn't that gorgeous and sacred? And I love watching them, whatever it is they do, and it makes me feel beautiful. If the answer is watching that made me feel like shit and I feel closed down and icky, then it's probably not so good for you right now. That may change in the future. One of the things that actually makes porn so damaging is not the watching of it. It's the amount we consume, so that in the olden days, if you were looking at a magazine or a VHS tape, if you remember those, it actually wasn't as bad because you were only going to see a few performers, a few artists demonstrating their wares or doing what they do best. But in the world of online pornography, we can watch thousands of different people in quick succession, and so we're hitting that dopamine burst again and again and again, and it creates fatigue. So if you do online porn consumption, to just limit yourself to 3 or 4 performers or 3 or 4 models, and just kind of keeping it tight, tight around those few, because then it won't trigger as negative a response in your body. And also just being aware of what kind of pornography you're engaging with. Like, is it one where you're feeling like the performers are performing with a level of integrity, a level of self-respect, a level of kindness? Because if they're sending out kind of a positive vibe, then it's probably going to be encouraging more positive vibe within you. If they seem really stoned, if they seem like they're really abusing their partner, if it feels like it's non-consensual, you know, while definitely they can help us process our shadow, process our trauma, it's also going to leave some residual debris that isn't necessarily so sattvic is the term. You know, sex in itself is a beautiful, sacred, gorgeous act. Like, I think there's nothing more beautiful than watching 2 bodies engage, or one body with themselves engaging and exploring their sexual energy together. Like, I think that's gorgeous and beautiful and lovely. But if you're viewing it as something filthy, bad, or damaging, then that's how it's going to resonate within you. So just be aware of your connection with that. Because if all your focus, all your energy is going to constant online content, that might be part of the reason you feel drained. If you take a step back, or you're conscious of how you consume the content, or you do restrict it to in-person arousal experiences, that you do that at a club, a bathhouse, a date, a hookup, then maybe perhaps that will feed you differently. To be aware of that. Now, the next thing for growing your sexual energy, gentlemen, is to have a positive experience of your body. That you and your friend downstairs are in good rapport. That you are kind to him him, you talk well about him, you play with him regularly, and that you have experiences of yourself, that when you self-pleasure, you have times where you're just really focused on the experience, that you're with yourself, you're in yourself, you're touching and present to the experience. Because if every time you engage sexually, it's all focused out here on something external, you're not going to be cultivating that sexual energy within, it's going to be traveling out of you. So by having a more meditative experience of yourself, you'll start to build that energy because that energy is staying within. I did a video a couple months back about turning your penis into your best friend that has a really nice meditation in it about how to develop a rapport with your body in a positive way. So I highly recommend checking that one out. And as you get good at that, then to be aware of a few things. One, that your sexual energy should stay with you no matter what room you walk into. Even if you're going into a business meeting or you're going to the grocery store or you're hanging out with family, that you don't fully shut off your sexual energy. It's still there. You're probably not going to act on it. Like, you're not going to be in the middle of a board meeting and be like, here's my dick. Hopefully. I mean, unless of course, you know, that's your company culture, then mazel tov, more power to you. But the point is you don't shut it out, because people who are always tapped into their sexual energy, that's generally the people we call charismatic, that they are integrated with themselves, that they're bringing that into the space. So allow that to live in you. Always be aware, be breathing down there, be aware of how does it feel down in your pelvis? Are you sending your life force there? Are you concentrating on your lingam? We call it in yoga, your penis, your phallus, your testicles, your sex organs, your place of orgasm, your prostate. Like, are you aware of that space? And to feel like they're taking up space in the room, that you're not castrated, they're not invisible. It's like, yeah, I'm in this room and I have a phallus and it shall be here in the space today. I'm very aware of it. And then with that awareness comes a level of engagement with it. Now, it's possible to breathe down into your sex organs and experience a state of arousal with your breath, with your prana, your life force. I know a lot of people who, through developing meditative techniques with their friend downstairs, they're able to get hard on cue. It's even entirely possible just through breathing meditation to orgasm, to ejaculate just through breath without any form of touch. And even if you watch the live meditation I did this first week of December 2021 here live Sunday, like, you could see me as I'm breathing and doing my energetic work, like having orgasm-like experiences, even though that wasn't what I was even actually trying to work on. It just, by being in yourself, that sort of thing just starts to happen as you do this work more and more. And to have a positive relationship with your body where it's okay to touch it throughout the day, that, you know, you could be making dinner or watching a movie or doing some work, and at the same time just gently touching yourself, pleasuring yourself, being in connection with the lower parts of your body and saying, yes, I can be fully focused on this document I'm typing, at the same time I'm maintaining a level of arousal and self-connection. So that way you can still go about your day, get everything done that needs to be done, and still be generating sexual energy. Because as far as I'm concerned, our sex organs, I think of them almost like, if you saw the old cartoons about where they had like the TNT boxes where they would like pump the TNT and then it would, after it was ready, they'd flick a switch and it would explode. Like, that's what I think about it as. It's like, by using our sexual organs, by pumping them, literally, figuratively, we build that energy that then goes inside of us. And then we can use different focusing techniques, breathing techniques to then start to move that energy up and out of our base. Because if it stays down there, we'll develop blue balls, which are not comfortable for anyone. But by breathing into it and moving it and flowing it through our body, bringing it up to our crown, which then transmutes it to more enlightened energy, or bringing it to our heart, or even just flooding our system with it, then we don't get that stagnation that's so uncomfortable. But then it starts to resonate with us and we start to feel electric and alive and beautiful, which is the same thing that happens for the people practicing NoFap, where they refrain from any sort of masturbatory activities for weeks and weeks, right? That same thing happens. It just takes a heck of a lot longer. So I hope this is useful for you. I know this is, for a lot of men, kind of a taboo topic that we're not supposed to talk about, or, you know, I certainly don't generally hang out with my buddies and be like, so how's your sexual energy doing lately? Have you been getting it up several hours a day? Is your wife satisfied? Is your husband satisfied? I don't talk like that with my friends. Maybe you do. Kudos to you if you do. Yeah, that's generally not been my experience of going out for the evening and hearing at the table next to me, so I had an 8-hour erection last week. Maybe people do have those conversations and I'm just not privy to them. But if you love this, please check out some of my other content. If you haven't seen it, there's a really great video I posted a while back now on penis size and how it affects our well-being and what it really is and what it means to us. It's the most popular video on my YouTube channel, so definitely worth watching. You can also check us out on on Patreon, patreon.com/ecstaticself, or work with me one-on-one through reaching out through a form on my website, or just shooting me an email or a DM on social media. But I hope this is helpful for you. Our goal is to live our best life possible, and for me, having a healthy, robust, joyful connection with my sexual energy has been a huge part of that. So thank you for your time today. I hope this has been helpful for you. I'm Kay. Namaste.